One peaceful evening, as the stars began to twinkle above, something odd happened. The moon, which is usually a bright white or yellow, suddenly turned bright red. The red moon shone through the clouds like a glowing ball of fire in the sky. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared. It was so unusual. People gathered outside, looking up with wide eyes, unsure of what they were seeing. This wasn't a normal moon. It looked like it had been painted with the deepest shade of red, and there was an eerie glow around it. The trees swayed in the wind, and the air felt colder than usual. Children who were playing stopped and ran to their parents. Some animals started howling in the distance. But the scariest part was that no one knew why the moon was like this. It didn't just look red, it looked angry. People whispered to each other, "What is happening, and why is the moon like this?" Some said it was a sign of bad things to come. Others said it was magic. The night grew longer, and the red moon stayed up there in the sky, staring down at everyone. Nobody knew if it would ever change back. The whole world seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. The next morning, after a long and strange night, people started to feel something was wrong. It wasn't just the moon that seemed different. The air itself felt heavy, like something was watching. Even the birds and animals acted strangely. They seemed to know something was about to happen, but they couldn't explain it. The whole world felt uneasy. Children whispered stories at school. "Maybe the moon is angry," one of them said. "Or maybe it's trying to tell us something." Others believed the moon was magical, that it had special powers. There was a rumor going around that the blood moon wasn't just a sign, it was the key to a big mystery that no one could understand. That afternoon, an old man who lived at the edge of the village came to town. He had long white hair and a deep voice. He told everyone about an old legend he had heard when he was a boy. The legend said that every time the moon turned red, something powerful and dangerous was about to happen. The red moon was a warning, and people needed to be careful. He said that the moon was trying to tell them something, but only a few people could understand its secret. "Listen carefully," he warned, "the red moon does not come without a reason. It is watching us." His words sent a chill through the crowd. As days passed, things grew even stranger. The moon stayed red, and now the whole town was filled with a sense of fear. People felt like they were being watched, even when they were alone. Strange things began to happen. Doors that had been locked suddenly opened by themselves. The wind started to blow in strange directions, and shadows seemed to move on their own. Some nights, the moon appeared to grow even redder, as if it were growing angrier with every passing hour. And then, one evening, something terrifying happened. The ground beneath the villagers' feet began to shake. It wasn't an earthquake, but it felt like something deep underground was stirring. The shaking didn't last long, but it was enough to make people panic. Children ran inside, clutching their parents. The older villagers huddled together, whispering about old warnings. They believed the shaking was the first sign of something much worse coming. It was clear now, the red moon was not just a symbol of something coming, it was connected to something dark and powerful. Something that had been waiting for the right time to rise. No one knew what this force was, but they could all feel it in their bones. Something unseen was stirring, and the blood moon was a sign of its return. One day, a curious girl named Lily decided she wasn't going to wait and wonder anymore. She wanted to know the truth about the red moon and what was happening in her village. So, she set out on her own to find answers. Lily went to the oldest place in the village, an old library that had been abandoned for many years. Inside, the shelves were covered in dust, and the air smelled musty. She carefully walked through the rows of books, hoping to find something that might explain the red moon. After hours of searching, she found a dusty old book with strange writing on the cover. When she opened it, The pages were filled with mysterious drawings and words she couldn't understand. But as she flipped through the pages, something caught her eye. There was a drawing of the blood moon and a description about a hidden force that it was tied to. The book said the force was ancient and had the power to control the world. It could only be awakened by the red moon. Lily's heart raced as she read more. The legend was true. But what did it mean for her village? Suddenly, she heard a noise behind her. Someone was coming. That night, the red moon seemed to glow even more brightly. It filled the sky with a crimson light, casting everything below in an unsettling glow. The wind had stopped completely, and there was an eerie silence. As the village slept, something moved in the shadows. People were unaware of the danger lurking nearby. But Lily knew something terrible was about to happen. She couldn't shake the feeling that the secret she had discovered in the book was about to come true. The ancient force, the one tied to the red moon, was stirring. She had to find out how to stop it. But as she thought about it, she realized something even more unsettling. The force didn't just want to wake up. It wanted to take control, to spread across the world and change everything. And it would use the red moon to do it. With the blood moon shining down, Lily made a decision. She had to warn the villagers. She had to stop the darkness before it was too late. But the question was, how? Lily didn't waste any time. She ran through the dark streets, her heart pounding in her chest. The wind had picked up again, but it wasn't a comforting breeze. It felt like the air itself was holding its breath, waiting for something to happen. As she reached the town square, she saw that everyone was still sleeping peacefully, unaware of the danger coming their way. Lily knew she had to act quickly. She had to find a way to stop the force that the red moon had awakened. But how? The old book had given her some clues, but it didn't explain exactly how to stop it. She wished she could have learned more, but the book's pages had only given her enough information to know that time was running out. The red moon was more than just a sign, it was the beginning of the end. If she didn't do something soon, everything would be lost. Lily thought back to the strange drawings in the book. They showed people performing rituals to block the power of the red moon. The drawings weren't clear, but they all seemed to point to one thing: the moon's power could be stopped by something pure, something that could resist its darkness. But what could that be? What was pure enough to stop the force tied to the red moon? She had an idea. Lily couldn't do this alone. She needed help, and the first person she thought of was her best friend, James. He was brave, smart, and always ready for an adventure. Without wasting any more time, Lily ran to James' house, praying he would still be awake. She knocked urgently on his door. When James opened it, he blinked in surprise at the sight of his friend standing there, looking more serious than he'd ever seen her. "Lily, what's going on? Why are you out here at this hour?" Lily didn't answer at first. Instead, she grabbed his arm and pulled him outside. "The red moon. It's not just a sign. It's the beginning of something terrible," she whispered. "I need your help." James' eyes widened as Lily explained what she had learned in the book and how she believed the ancient force was waking up, ready to take control of the world. "We have to stop it before it's too late," she said. James didn't hesitate. He nodded and said, "I'm in. What do we need to do?" Lily felt a rush of relief. Together, they would figure out a way to stop the dark power that the blood moon had unleashed. But where would they find the answers? She remembered that the old man had said that only a few people could understand the moon's secret. Maybe, just maybe, he would know more. Lily and James set off toward the old man's house, determined to get the answers they needed. The old man lived at the edge of the village, in a small, weathered house. It looked like it hadn't been lived in for years, but when Lily and James knocked on the door, it creaked open almost instantly. The old man was waiting for them, as if he had been expecting their visit. "I knew you would come," he said in his deep voice. His eyes twinkled with wisdom, but there was also a hint of sadness. "The blood moon has awakened, and now the darkness is rising. But there is still hope." Lily felt a chill run down her spine as the old man led them inside. His house was filled with ancient books and strange symbols. It was clear he knew much more about the blood moon than anyone else in the village. "We need your help," Lily said urgently. "How do we stop the force tied to the red moon?" The old man sighed. "The answer is in the heart of the forest," he said softly. "But it is not an easy journey. The force you are trying to stop is powerful, and it will do everything it can to stop you. You must be brave, and you must be pure of heart." James looked worried. "The forest. It's dangerous there. No one goes into the heart of it anymore." The old man nodded. "That is true. But if you wish to stop the darkness, you must face it. Only then will you discover the secret of the blood moon." Lily and James exchanged determined looks. They had come this far, and there was no turning back now. They had to face whatever lay ahead. With the old man's warning in mind, they set out toward the forest, knowing that the red moon was not only watching them, it was waiting for them to make a move. The forest was dark and thick with trees. As Lily and James walked deeper into it, the air grew colder, and the path became harder to follow. The sounds of the forest seemed to vanish, replaced by a strange silence that made their footsteps seem loud and unnatural. The deeper they went, the more unsettling the atmosphere became. The trees appeared to close in around them, their twisted branches reaching out like fingers. The red moon seemed to be watching from above, casting an eerie glow over the landscape. It felt like they were being followed, but when they turned around, there was nothing behind them. Lily's heart raced as they continued forward. The forest seemed endless, and she began to feel the weight of the old man's words. They were getting closer to the heart of the forest, and closer to the secret that would either save or destroy them. Suddenly, the ground beneath them began to tremble again. This time, the shaking was stronger, more violent. It felt as though the very earth was alive, trying to stop them from going any further. But Lily and James refused to turn back. They had come too far, and they were determined to face whatever danger lay ahead. The forest was becoming more terrifying with each step. The path, which had once been clear, was now barely visible, as though the trees themselves were trying to hide it from them. As they walked, the red moon above seemed to grow even larger, casting a blood-red light that made everything look strange and unreal. It was as if the world had shifted into a dream, a dark, frightening dream that didn't want to let them go. Lily and James pressed on, despite the fear gnawing at them. The trees were so close now that they had to squeeze through narrow spaces between their thick trunks. The air felt thick, as if every breath was heavier than the last. The wind had stopped completely, and all they could hear were the sounds of their footsteps crunching on the dry leaves beneath them. Just when they thought they couldn't go any further, Lily noticed something strange. There was a glimmer of light ahead, something that didn't belong in the dark forest. She grabbed James's arm and pointed. "Look. Do you see that?" James squinted into the distance. "It's a light." Without waiting for an answer, Lily hurried toward the glowing spot. As they got closer, the light grew brighter, until they reached a small clearing in the forest. In the center of the clearing stood an ancient stone archway, covered in moss and vines. The glow was coming from within the arch. It was unlike anything they had ever seen, a soft, golden light that shimmered like sunlight dancing on water. "This must be it," Lily whispered. "The heart of the forest. The secret the old man spoke of." They stepped closer to the arch, feeling an unexplainable pull to it. Something powerful was waiting just beyond the archway, and they could feel its energy surrounding them. It was both calming and frightening at the same time. As Lily and James stepped through the archway, they were instantly surrounded by a strange energy. The air grew warmer, and the golden light shimmered brighter. They felt as though they were no longer in the forest but in some otherworldly place, far from everything they knew. In front of them stood a massive stone door, covered in strange symbols and carvings. The door seemed to pulse with the same energy that surrounded them, as if it was alive. There was a soft humming sound, almost like a song, echoing from behind the door. The door was the gateway, and beyond it lay the heart of the forest secret. Lily reached out to touch the door, her fingers brushing against the cool stone. As soon as she made contact, the door rumbled, and the humming grew louder. The symbols on the door began to glow, and the entire clearing seemed to come to life. The trees around them whispered in the wind, their branches shaking as if they, too, knew what was about to happen. "What is this place?" James asked, his voice shaking. "I don't know," Lily replied, her voice barely a whisper. "But it feels like we're not supposed to be here." The door suddenly began to open on its own, the stone shifting slowly, revealing a hidden room beyond. The light spilling from the doorway was so bright that it hurt their eyes, but they couldn't look away. They were drawn forward, their curiosity pushing them closer to the unknown. As they stepped inside, they saw what lay beyond the door. The room was filled with glowing symbols and ancient writings. In the center of the room stood a large, crystal-like structure. It was glowing with the same golden light that filled the forest clearing, and it seemed to hum with power. At the base of the crystal, there was a pedestal, and on the pedestal lay a small, shining object, something that seemed to be the source of all the light and energy. Lily and James knew that this was the heart of the forest secret. But what was it? What was this glowing object that could stop the darkness tied to the red moon? And why did it feel so familiar, as though it had been waiting for them? As they stepped into the room, a wave of energy swept over them. The ground beneath their feet vibrated, and the air became thick with magic. The golden light from the crystal seemed to grow stronger, and a voice echoed in their minds. "You have come. The time is upon us." Lily froze. She hadn't spoken, but somehow, the voice was speaking directly to her. It wasn't a sound she could hear with her ears, but a feeling that filled her mind and soul. The voice was calm, yet filled with power, as though it was the voice of something ancient and wise. "You are the chosen ones," the voice continued. "The blood moon has awakened the force that sleeps beneath the world. Only you have the power to stop it." Lily looked at James, both of them feeling the weight of the words. "Chosen ones." What did that mean? The voice answered their unspoken question. "The object before you is the key. It holds the power to seal the darkness. But to use it, you must give up something precious. The price of stopping the darkness is not an easy one." Lily's heart raced. What could she give up? What would James have to sacrifice? The weight of the decision felt like it was too much for them to bear. They had come so far, but now they were faced with a choice that would change everything. The voice continued to hum in their minds, its presence growing stronger as they stood before the crystal. Lily could feel the weight of its words pressing down on her. She turned to James, her heart heavy with fear and uncertainty. "What do we do?" she whispered. "What's the price? What do we have to give up?" James didn't reply at first. He was staring at the object on the pedestal, his expression unreadable. The light from the crystal seemed to shine brighter, almost as if it was waiting for them to make a decision. "I don't know," he finally said, his voice tight. "But whatever it is, we can't let the darkness win." Lily nodded, but she could feel the fear creeping into her chest. She had come this far, but the choice ahead felt impossible. What would they have to give up? What would it cost them to save their village, and the world? The air in the room grew heavier, and the crystal pulsed with power. It seemed to be calling to them, urging them to make their move. But Lily knew that whatever decision they made, their lives would never be the same again. The room was heavy with the weight of their decision. The glowing crystal pulsed like a heartbeat, and the golden light filled every corner, as if the entire space was alive, waiting for them to act. But Lily and James stood frozen, unable to take the next step. The voice in their minds was still there, persistent and patient, waiting for them to choose. "You must choose now," the voice echoed softly, its tone almost reassuring. "The world is hanging by a thread. Only one can wield the power of the crystal. Only one can seal the darkness. Who will it be?" Lily's breath caught in her throat. She didn't want to be the one to decide. How could she possibly choose between herself and James? He was her best friend. He had stood by her through everything. She knew he would never let her face this alone, but the voice was clear, only one of them could take the crystal's power. James stood silently beside her, his face thoughtful. He looked down at the glowing pedestal, as if considering the weight of the decision too. Then, he slowly turned to her. His eyes were filled with the same sense of determination that had been there from the beginning of their journey. "I don't know what the price is," he said quietly, "but we can't risk everything for both of us. Maybe it should be you. You've been the one leading us through this, Lily. You're the one who found the answers. I'm not sure I can do it." Lily's heart twisted. She had always counted on James, but now he was telling her to take on the burden alone. She felt a wave of guilt wash over her. What if the price was too high? What if it meant losing everything she held dear? "The choice is yours," the voice said again, this time sounding softer, almost as if it understood their hesitation. "You have the power to decide. If neither of you acts, the darkness will consume all." Lily looked at the glowing object on the pedestal, and her mind raced. She could feel the power it held, strong, ancient, and vast. But what was the cost? Was she ready to sacrifice something precious? Was she ready to face the consequences? And yet, she knew there was no time left. The red moon's light had never been more intense, and the world outside was waiting for their decision. Lily's eyes locked with James's, and she knew that no matter what happened, they would always be together in spirit. She took a deep breath and stepped forward. "I'll do it," she said, her voice steady despite the fear. "I have to do it." As the shadows of the past fade into the dawn of a new day, the tale of the secret of the blood moon leaves behind a lingering mystery, a mystery that will never truly be solved, but will always be felt. Lily's journey, from the quiet life of a village girl to the hero who sacrificed her very soul to protect the world, reminds us that true bravery doesn't always look like we expect it to. Sometimes, it is the quiet moments, the inner battles, and the choices no one else sees that make someone extraordinary. The blood moon was not just a celestial event, but a symbol of the darkness that hides beneath the surface of even the most peaceful places. It is a reminder that no matter how much we may wish for peace, the cost of protecting that peace can be far greater than we ever anticipate. The world Lily and James saved was not without its scars, but it was a world that would continue to turn, and they would continue to face whatever came next. The sacrifice Lily made is a testament to the lengths one can go to for the ones they love, and for the world that is worth saving, even if the price is steep. It's a story of friendship, of courage, and of loss, but it's also a story of hope. Because even in the darkest times, there is always the possibility of a new dawn. And while the blood moon has disappeared, the shadows it left behind still linger, waiting to be uncovered, hidden in places that we may not yet understand. But Lily and James are not done. Their story is not over. The next chapter is yet to be written, and the world they saved is waiting for them to face the new challenges it holds. So, as the sun rises and the world moves on, remember, the blood moon may have vanished, but the secret it held, the magic it whispered, still echoes in the hearts of those brave enough to listen. Will they be ready when it returns? Only time will tell. I trust you enjoyed this video. Please like and share your thoughts in the comment section, give a thumbs up, and subscribe to this channel for more alluring stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and stay tuned for the next video.